Welcome to Authors Allies, the podcast where we dive into the worlds of authors, books, and the art of storytelling. Join us for in-depth interviews with celebrated authors, insightful book reviews, and practical tips on marketing your literary masterpiece. After over 20 years of publishing magazines, I, your host, Rebecca Pechoric, am so thrilled to be able to work within my dream of promoting authors and their books. Whether you're a seasoned writer or just starting your journey, we've got something for you. So grab your favorite beverage, settle in, and let's explore the fascinating world of books together. Hey there, friends. Welcome back to the Authors Allies podcast. I'm Rebecca Pechoric, and if you're joining us for the first time today, welcome to the show. You might want to go back and listen to the last episode first, though, because here we laid out the full case for why content repurposing is one of the most powerful growth strategies available to indie authors. We talked about the difference between reposting and repurposing, the 4 strategic returns you get from a repurposing practice, and a concept called generative engine optimization. Say that fast 3 times, that I think is going to matter more and more as AI is reshaping how readers discover books and authors. So today is going to be the practical follow-up to all of that. We're getting into the how. If you are listening on audio only, please note that the YouTube version is going to have screenshots added in for you to see the real life examples. I will also be putting some links into the notes if you want to see the project in action. Today, I'm going to walk you through a real repurposing system behind the scenes of how one live teaching class became a blog, a newsletter, a social campaign, multiple short form videos, and yes, even this very podcast episode you're listening to right now. I'm going to walk you through each phase, introduce you to a framework I call the content loop, and share the tools that support this kind of workflow and give you the simplest possible starting point so you can begin implementing today, even if you only have 10 extra minutes. Let's get into it. Okay, so the best way I know to understand content repurposing is really to see it in practice. I want to walk you through a real life example from my own content and specifically how the blog post and podcast episode that you're engaging with right now came to exist, because the origin story is a good one. I was creating a single live teaching event inside the Authors Allies Roundtable membership. We did a class on how to create a discoverable author website in 2026, what that looks like, what elements matter, and how to think about it strategically. That class became the seed of an entire content ecosystem, and I want to walk you through exactly how that happened phase by phase. So in phase 1 is what I call the creation and primary distribution phase. This is where you establish your core asset, that original long-form piece of content from which everything else will just flow. Think of it like planting the seed. Here's how it unfolded for that particular class. I taught the class live inside the Authors Allies community. As I was preparing for it, I created supporting slides using Google NotebookLM, which is a fantastic tool for synthesizing and organizing your source material into structured visual content. And here's a little bonus repurposing win that a lot of people miss if they're using Notebook. A lot of those slides can also serve as standalone graphics for your social media. So you're creating teaching assets and social assets at the same time. Now, after the class, I took the transcript and I organized it into a structured blog draft using my friend Claude to help me lay it out in the format that made the most sense. This is one of my favorite parts of the workflow. What I did was I gave Claude the raw material, the transcript, the slides, my notes, and then they helped me think it through and create it into a blog post that had a clear structure, a logical flow, and used my voice still, right? And then from there, I refined that draft and I published it on Substack as a full post. Now, here's the fun thing about any sort of content apps like Substack, and even LinkedIn does this for you as well if you use their newsletter feature. When you publish a post, it automatically sends it to all your subscribers as an email newsletter. This way, publishing and email distribution can happen simultaneously. One action you performed on 2 channels. That's built-in repurposing before you've even done a single extra thing, right? So from that one live class, we now have a slide deck, a structured blog post, and an email newsletter with minimal additional creation effort beyond that original teaching session that I had. That is phase 1. That's that core asset that we established for the rest of our system. So now, once we have that primary asset live, phase 2 begins. And the focus here is going to shift from distributing that content across platforms so it reaches readers who would never have found it in its original form. Substack has a really useful built-in feature called Share Assets that I lean on heavily here. It lets you generate quick visuals and short video snippets directly from your published post. So this way you've got another round of assets being created almost automatically from within the platform of Substack itself. It's genius, really. From there, I posted the story content on Meta to announce the article and drive traffic back to Substack. I scheduled a main feed social post across platforms using my HighLevel system. And here's the piece I want to emphasize. I already have a future repost built into that scheduling. So the content resurfaces automatically weeks later without me having to think about it or remember to do it. It's already done. And I scheduled short form video content across TikTok, YouTube Shorts, and Instagram Reels, and did the same thing with those as well. Those will also fall into a reposting bucket. So let's count where we are at this point. One live class I did. One live class became a slide deck, a blog post, an email newsletter, a Substack with shared video visuals, a meta story post, a main feed social media post with scheduled future reposts already built in for that and the multiple short form videos that I put across 3 platforms. Oh my gosh, I'm tired just thinking about it, right? Like, what if we didn't have the ability to be able to use all these tools to create easy assets, right? This is a significant amount of content reach from just one original idea. And we're still not even done with this idea, because this is where most authors stop. And it is also, honestly, where some of the most valuable repurposing opportunities begin. When I was reviewing that blog post, I recognized that the content could become its own podcast episode. The ideas around repurposing strategy, the system itself, these ideas were rich enough to deserve this deeper audio conversation that we're having right now. And that's exactly what we did. So this podcast episode, the one before this, and there's a 3rd episode in this series, these are opening up entirely new layers of assets. But from this episode alone, we can create audiograms, those short little branded audio clips with waveforms that everyone loves on social media. We can pull quote graphics from the most shareable moments. We can write email content summarizing the episode and link it back to both podcasts and the original blog. And we can embed the episodes directly into that original blog post, which strengthens the internal linking between pieces and gives readers who find the blog a reason to keep engaging with our content ecosystem. Each new asset also creates an opportunity to link back to the original, the blog, the Substack post, the membership class, building on what I like to think of as a web of interconnected content that reinforces the same core ideas from multiple angles and with multiple entry points and in different ways for each different reader to be able to interact with it the way they like best. That's phase 3. It's not about endlessly creating for its own sake. It's about intentionally extending the life cycle of your best ideas so they can keep working long after you've moved on to something new. I want to pause here for a second because I just realized I'm doing the exact thing I always do, which is trying to give you everything at once and ending up with way more than we can cover in one sitting. And truly, that's kind of perfect, really, because this entire series is about repurposing. So I'm going to practice what I preach. Here's where we are. We've walked through the 3 phases of a real repurposing system in action. From establishing your core asset, to amplifying it across platforms, to extending its life cycle into entirely new content formats. That alone is a complete framework you can start using immediately. But there is some more I want to give you. So I'm going to create a third episode to this, a third part. We're going to talk about why your content should never really have a finish line at all. I'm going to introduce you to something I call the content loop. I'm going to walk you through the shift to systems thinking that makes all of this sustainable long-term. And I'm going to share the tools that support this workflow. Finally, I'm going to give you the simplest possible starting point if you're not ready to do the whole thing yet. So here's your action step for part 2 here before we move to part 3. Go back to phase 1. Identify what core asset you have, what piece of long-form content you have, whether it is a chapter of your book that you maybe have read, whether it's a class, a blog, something that you've created that's just sitting there waiting for you. Name it. That's it. That's all I want you to do. All I want you to do is find the piece that you're going to use. In the next episode, we'll talk about how to make it work a lot harder for you. Make sure you're subscribed to the podcast here so you don't miss that episode. And if you found this episode and this series helpful, please be sure to share it with a fellow author. That's the nicest thing you could do for me and for them. Grab your coffee, go back and listen to these other 2 episodes and start your wheels spinning, and I will see you in part 3.
That's all for this episode of Authors Allies. We hope you enjoyed our exploration of the literary world. Be sure to stay tuned for our next episode where we'll have more fascinating interviews, book reviews, and marketing tips. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform. Leave us a review and share us with a friend. To get your free copy of our ebook, 10 Steps to Your Ultimate Book Marketing Plan, be sure to head over to our show notes. Until next time, happy reading and writing.